the Eastern District of North Carolina in October of 2022. The judgment required the company to pay the affected employees $838,007 in back wages and an equal amount in liquidated damages. WSIC weather, partly cloudy overnight, a low around 70. Thursday, mostly cloudy with a 60% chance of a shower or a thunderstorm, the high 87. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Scoreboard here on WSIC. And as always, if you'd like to call in, 704-873-1400. Getting ever so closer to the start of the official NFL season. We got some baseball going on, some protests, protest from the fans in Baltimore. Lots to get into today. But the first thing I wanted to bring up today is Hard Knocks debuted last night. And Hard Knocks is always great to see because you get all that inside video of how training camp works and who's going to be good. And this year we get the New York Jets. And it's pretty obvious who the focal point is going to be, at least in my eyes. It's pretty obvious. It's going to be Aaron Rodgers. They start with that montage of the Super Bowl winning team with Joe Namath running through the tunnel. But then once they get into, who's on the team now and this training camp, one of the first things you see is Aaron Rodgers walking out onto the practice field with the fans in the background, screaming, cheering his name. We're going to see a lot of Aaron Rodgers. And it's funny because every time they cut to him, he's doing something good. Which, if you pay attention to the media, he hasn't been framed as somebody who does that kind of stuff. But you see him explaining stuff to Zach Wilson, Zach Wilson's a pretty funny character, talking about showing off his guns because the quarterback ahead of him can't. But you see him showing Zach Wilson things that he needs to do. And it's always funny because when you get an older player like this to do Hard Knocks, and you see the rookies talking to them, saying, "Oh, I remember watching you when I was in middle school." And then Aaron Rodgers is like, "Oh my goodness." Those always make me laugh because it just shows how, number one, how good Rodgers is, but number two, how long he's been around. But Hard Knocks is going to be interesting. I want to see more of Sauce Gardner because he is a funny guy, and it was awesome to see him go back to school and get his degree, and that's being reported here that recently he went back and got his degree, and it was like a deal that he had made with his mother or whatever he framed it as, that if he left school early to go to the draft, he would come back to get his degree, so that's always cool to see. But nonetheless, you get to see the Hall of Fame game and the lights going out and players being like, let's just go home. I'm done. I'm tired. I thought that was a pretty funny moment, but we'll see what happens with the rest of Hard Knocks. Like I said, I want to see more of Sauce Gardner. I want to see more of Zach Wilson, and we'll see what happens there. Just a cool little thing always before the season. That's like hey, we're here. Like, football is beginning is when Hard Knocks drops. So keeping up with that as we move along here. Not too much of things going on in the NFL right now. We're getting ever so closer to the real beginning of preseason because, we have the Hall of Fame game. Technically, it's a preseason game, but the first real preseason games start tomorrow on NFL Network. Yes, Thursday night preseason games. You got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and a couple of them on Sunday. So if you missed football if you've been itching for some football, it's back. It's gonna come at you fast here. So tomorrow we have the Texans and the Patriots, the Vikings and the Seahawks. And then we have quite a few games on Friday, Saturday. Only a couple on Sunday. Same thing as last year. We're going to have 3 preseason games each. Bye week, technically, like an off week right before the season starts. And it'll be here before you know it. So 4 o'clock, the Jets taking on the Panthers. That'll be in Carolina. It's funny because I was talking about how the team that has the Hall of Fame game almost has a slight advantage because they do have that one extra game to say, okay, these guys are good. They're going to be part of our starters. They're going to be part of our backups. Probably going to cut these. They get a general sense. Well, the Panthers are going into this game with no real general sense. I mean, they can evaluate their talent, but they don't already have a game under their belts. But don't worry about the results win-loss wise. All you need to worry about is, did Bryce Young look good or not? And obviously the other players on the team too. It's not all about Bryce Young. But if he didn't play well in the first preseason game, okay, that's game 1. But ideally, he would be something that it'd be perfect if he was a non-talking point. Because that means he just did his job. And it's going to be hard for that to happen if you're a rookie, your first time out on the field. But if you just do your job and stay out of the headlines and you don't become the story, it usually means you're doing a pretty good job. So like I said, 4 o'clock on Saturday, that'll be Panthers-Jets. And we'll see what happens. I mean, like we said, the depth chart is set. We know Bryce Young will be QB1. We know he's going to be playing in the preseason. I wouldn't play him every preseason game. Maybe give him a little bit of time in game 1, a little bit more time in game 2, and then if you want to give him a drive in the third game, go for that. But I would want to protect my man here because, as it's been noted, he is tinier than normal quarterbacks. He's under 6 foot. He's got a small frame, and I wouldn't want to take the risk of somebody falling on top of him before the games even begin. Kind of like what's going on with Joe Burrow here. He came up with a bad calf, looked like a strained calf on a non-contact injury, and he's still not playing, not practicing yet. We don't know what his status for week 1 is going to be. Now, maybe the Bengals can afford to lose Joe Burrow for a game or 2 or 3 because they do have a good team and Joe Burrow is one of the top-tier quarterbacks in the league, but the Panthers can't afford an injury. So I would be very careful with what I do with Bryce Young. But like I said, Texans-Patriots, that's going to be at 7 o'clock, followed up immediately by Vikings-Seahawks. Geno Smith is back. Yes, he is. Vikings, always interesting, especially after that Netflix series Quarterback came out where you got to see just how tough Kirk Cousins is. I would say he's one of the toughest players out there with that injury that he had and fighting through the pain and never really saying anything about it. So he is one tough guy to break there, but Vikings are going to be an interesting story this year in a division that's, I'm calling wide open because Detroit could win it. They should win it, but it is Detroit, so you never know what they're going to do. But nonetheless, that's going to be a very, very interesting division. It should be a fight all the way to the end. We're going to talk a little bit about Major League Baseball when we get back. There was some fun chants going on in the stands in support of a certain announcer. That's all the tease that I'll give you. Make sure you stay tuned here on the Scoreboard with Joe Berg. That's me here on WSIC 704-873-1400 if you'd like to call in and be a part of the show. We'll be back after this.
If it touches your family, your schools, your city, or your safety, News Talk WSIC has it covered.
Grub Ferry Road near the intersection at Hollywood Drive will be closed while...
News Talk WSIC.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Just a few more weeks until Kane Center for the Arts' first performance of the 2024 fall season lineup. Asheville native Kanan Cox will be performing Friday, August 25th. The show starts at 8 p.m. Kane Center for the Arts 2024 fall season. Buy your season tickets now at kanearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Looking for something fun to do with your kids this summer? Birkdale Buds is hosting their weekly Playtime in the Plaza. Bring your preschool-aged bud for playtime between 10:30 and 12 noon every Wednesday through October. The activities include games, face painting, storytellers, magicians, arts and crafts, plus more. There's no cost and no registration required. Bring a blanket and come join the fun. For more details, visit birkdalevillage.com. Ever wonder what Mooresville was like in 1873? The historic Downtown Walking Tour is a self-guided tour that will take you on a stroll through Mooresville's past to learn about the history of the town. Featuring 18 stops, the tour begins and ends at the corner of Main Street and Center Avenue. It should take 1 hour to complete. For more details, visit downtownmooresville.com. Looking for a night out on the town? Cornelius' second Friday Street Festival series continues, starting at Oak Street Mill at 6 p.m. The second Friday Street Festival series is ongoing through October. Got an upcoming event you'd like everyone to know about? Yard and estate sales, nonprofit fundraisers, and everything in between? Go to WSICnews.com and click on Events to submit your event today.
I'm Dan Sutton with your WSIC forecast. For tonight, we'll have a low around 70 and light south wind. Thursday, we'll have a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms with patchy fog before 10 a.m. on a high near 87 with southwest winds 9 to 15 miles per hour and gusts as high as 24 miles per hour. Few rainfall amounts between a tenth and quarter of an inch, except higher amounts possible in thunderstorms. From WSIC's Weather Center, I'm Dan Sutton.
Hey folks, Ryan Scott here, Randy Marion Chevrolet Estates. Well, let me tell you about this summer sales event going on. I tell you, Silverados, Colorados, we have got them discounted during this event. It is hot outside. The deals are even hotter at the Chevrolet store in Statesville. If you haven't seen the new Colorado, folks, you owe it to yourself. Come check that truck out. Take it home today. Come see the Silverado, whether it's a crew cab, double cab, regular cab. We got them in stock. 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive. Pick the trim. Take it home today. Your dealer is Randy Marion Chevrolet in Statesville, right on I-40.
If you have an upcoming event, let WSIC spread the word. Go to WSICnews.com and click on the community calendar button. WSIC, proud to be part of your community.
All right, welcome back to the Scoreboard here on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. And if you'd like to call in, be a part of the show, got something on your mind, 704-873-1400. I'm here for you, whether you're happy, angry, sad. Are you mad at the Orioles for suspending their broadcaster? Because a lot of baseball is... There are a lot of MLB announcers who decided to voice their displeasure with the Orioles management and their decision to suspend Kevin Brown for the comments that he made, which weren't even bad. They weren't controversial. He was stating facts and reading off of a graphic that was made for him and put in front of him. But nonetheless, he is suspended until Friday. He's back relatively soon, so it was a real serious thing to suspend him for. Well, here is the Baltimore crowd last night showing their displeasure.
Made it look easy. Good athletes can do that, Devo. You did.
I think that's one of the best defensive plays in the game of baseball.
But going over the wall and making a pitcher happy?
Yes. Hey, you always got to make you guys happy.
And you can hear it if you can make it out. They are chanting, "Free Kevin Brown." And I think the rest of the baseball world and the sports world, for that matter, agrees with them. Because there's absolutely no reason Kevin Brown should have been suspended for the comments he made. And Baltimore lost. They lost a game here. Coincidence? I think not. Well, they're still 2 games up on Tampa Bay, holding the lead in the AL East outright right now. There was no reason to draw attention to this. I promise you, had Kevin Brown not been suspended, nobody would have known he said this. Maybe the Oriole fans watching the broadcast would have known, but this wouldn't have been put all over social media. We wouldn't have announcers talking about, "Oh my goodness, did you hear what Kevin Brown said about the team that he broadcast for?" None of that, because it wasn't controversial and it was a non-issue. The management and ownership for the Orioles made this an issue. They created their own story with this because it's nothing. It's a big bag of nothing. Nobody was worried about what he said. But I guess it was just too much for the Orioles ownership to handle, hearing about how they struggled in the past. I mean, if they've been paying attention to the team that they own, they would know that it's been a struggle here of the past few years. But you know what? Maybe they're just owning the team to own the team, and they just happened to tune in to that one broadcast and suspension. I'm not going to understand this one forever. I don't think anybody will ever understand this one because the Orioles management has dug their heels in and said, "We don't discuss this matter. He is suspended. He will be back." I don't get it. Baseball doesn't get it. It just doesn't bode well for me, with me, honestly, because it shouldn't have happened. But there's a lot of good things going on in baseball right now. We've been noting over the past few weeks how, well, hey, guess what? The scoring's up in baseball. Oh, cool. Well, yesterday we had a whole bunch of games with double-digit total runs. I mean, the Nationals and the Phillies, the Braves and the Pirates, Astros, Orioles, Royals. Look at all the scoring we're having in the league right now. You're regularly seeing crooked numbers. It's not a 3-2 baseball game anymore. It's like 6-3, and there's 7-3 and 7-1. Now, you still have your occasional 3-2 games, 1-0 games, but for the most part, scoring's up in baseball. And I think now we have a large enough sample size from the season. It was a little bit early to say before the All-Star break because the season really consists of 2 halves. And the second half is a lot different than the first half, cut in half by the All-Star break. I think we now have enough in the second half of the season to say that the reason scoring is up and the reason that we're seeing all this movement and all these runs come across the plate is because of the new rules. The game is moving faster. People are locked in now. Steals are up because you can't pick off as much. The shift is gone. And that might be the biggest thing, is that the extreme shift where you can have 3 infielders on one side, it's gone. Now, that still hasn't stopped teams from, in certain situations, bringing an outfielder in and using them as a 5th infielder. But, that's game on the line type stuff. That's not, hey, an extreme pull hitter is up. Let's take our left fielder and say, hey, go play right up the middle in front of second base. You don't see that because the rules have been working and scoring is up, steals are up, and I think fan happiness has to be up. I know for a fact that attendance is up across the league, maybe not in Oakland, but we don't have to talk about Oakland. Except for when they organize their reverse boycott, where their boycott is to go to the game. I don't know. I don't understand it. Nobody's happy with Oakland. We're going to move on. But a little bit of an update here on the standings, especially in the wild card. The LA Angels have gained a game back. We noted yesterday that they were 8.5 back. And 8 games back. Now they're only 7 games back. Still got a few teams ahead of them. Still not really in contention yet to compete for the AL West, because they're 11.5 back of the AL West now. And the Texas Rangers have absolutely been on fire after the All-Star break. They were one of the teams that bought like crazy, just like the Angels. They bought like crazy, and it's paying off. Texas has won 8 straight games now, opened up a 3-game lead over Houston, a 6.5-game lead over Seattle, and like I said, 11.5 over the Angels. Remember a few weeks ago, right before the All-Star, or right before the trade deadline, the Angels were hot. They were closing the gap in the division. They were getting closer. And they said, you know what, Shohei, you're sticking around. And then they lost 7 in a row. And I'm going to continue to beat this horse until we get past free agency next year, or until we get a resolution on this. This is shaping up to be the biggest disaster for the LA Angels ever. Because if you lose Shohei Ohtani for nothing in the offseason, you're going to set your team back years, because you had a chance to trade him. You had a chance to ship him off to wherever he wants to go. Now, I know he wanted to stay with the Angels, but sometimes you got to say, hey, we're not going to make the playoffs this year. And they were in a better spot at the deadline, but it could have gone either way. We talked about it with the Cubs. They were in a weird spot where it could go either way. The Guardians, everybody kind of was like, yeah, we have a chance, but we don't have a chance. What's going to happen? Well, the Angels decide to buy. And right after they decide to buy, they lose 7 in a row. But the Texas Rangers decide to buy. They're in a little bit better spot than the Angels, having a better year. The team's a little bit more complete, so they buy. And now they've won 8 in a row. 2 completely different outcomes here. And the Angels are in trouble. 7 games is a lot in the wild card. 11.5, nearly impossible at this point, especially with how well Texas has been playing. But the wild card, is it in contention? Yeah, it is. But I know they're begging to get Mike Trout back. And I know they're begging for their pitching to come around. There's one pitcher they don't have to worry about, and that's Shohei Ohtani. Quick look at the National League here. I'd like to apologize to the city of Cincinnati and the Reds, because I believe we have jinxed them here at the Scoreboard. They're a half game out of the wild card now. They were leading that division for a while. Then we said, all right, Elly De La Cruz is the future of baseball. He's the guy. We're going to get on the bandwagon. And ever since then, they're 2-8 in their last 10. That's how bad things have gotten. But the Heat, the race for the wild card is still there. And get this, the Mets, we talked about how they sold all their pitching, all their players. They're still only 7.5 back of the wild card. If we're considering the Angels in contention at 7 games back, the Mets are still in contention at 7.5 back. We're going to talk a little NASCAR when we return, because midweek here, we got the Indy Road Course coming up. We have some drivers to hear from. We have some odds to talk about. We have some supercar drivers to talk about. So make sure you stay tuned right here on WSIC for the Scoreboard with me, your host, Joe Berg, 704-873-1400 if you'd like to call in. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this.
Conversations that matter.
I gotta tell you, I'm afraid to even think about the next presidential election.
Led by you.
It's a mockery of American politics.
This is WSIC News Talk Now. Local news and weather now on the new 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. News Talk Now.
I'm Mike Jackson, WSIC News. The Statesville City Council has approved an economic development incentive for Bridgeford Foods, which is planning a $2.09 million expansion at its Statesville facility. The manufacturer is planning to expand its facility and purchase new machinery and equipment and add a minimum of 5 jobs with an average salary of $43,125 by December 31st of 2026. The council approved an economic incentive request made by the Iredell County Economic Development Corporation on behalf of Bridgeford Foods for a total of $26,283 over 5 years. And Attorney General Josh Stein today urged Congress to protect military veterans by passing the Governing Unaccredited Representatives Defrauding Veterans Affairs Benefits Act. The bipartisan legislation will hold accountable unaccredited and unregulated bad actors who prey upon veterans applying for federal VA benefits. WSIC weather, partly cloudy overnight, a low of 70. Thursday, mostly cloudy with a 60% chance of a shower or thunderstorm, the high 87. Mostly sunny Friday with a high of 88. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
Hey, this is Jeff McNeely. We hope you go out and visit the fine folks at G&M Milling Company in downtown beautiful Lowray, North Carolina. That's 4000 Taylorsville Highway, 704-873-5758. Give them a call or go visit for all your livestock needs, as far as feed or seed or whatever. They'll be glad to help you out. They're really good folks. I've known them for a long, long time. Go visit G&M Milling, 4000 Taylorsville Highway, Lowray, North Carolina.
The Statesville Family YMCA is gearing up for pickleball. Come enjoy this popular game weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. If the weather is too bad for kids attending summer camp to be outside, pickleball will be canceled. The Statesville Family YMCA, 828 Wesley Avenue.
Hi folks, Pat Shannon inviting you to join me for the Home Ad Show. We help you sell things, buy things, celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, and have a lot of fun in the process. Weekday mornings from 9 to 11, here on News Talk WSIC.
NC Representative Jeff McNeely.
He overrode Governor Cooper's veto of our omnibus gun bill, Second Amendment bill.
Taking care of Iredell.
Actually took care of some loopholes, in my opinion.
Monday and Saturday mornings at 11. News Talk WSIC.
It's always great to have the right tools and supplies when working outside. Little Shavers Wood Shop is ready to help. Little Shavers has all your wood, treated lumber, wood fencing, and all the treatment items to keep them looking great. PBG paints and stains, and add in some pine needles and Daddy Pete's mulch and soils, and your landscaping will be the best around. Head on over to Little Shavers, 3301 Salisbury Highway, right in between Statesville, Morrisville, and Moxville. Visit littleshaverswoodshop.com. That's LILShaverswoodshop.com.
While the Panthers will return their entire offensive line from last season, there is one bit of a delay as starting guard Austin Corbett works his way back from off-season surgery. I'm Jim Zoki with a Panthers update after this.
The only way to be your best self is with your best health. When you have a health partner who doesn't just treat part of you, they care for all of you. That's why more people prefer Atrium Health, because unrivaled care is easier, more accessible, and more complete than ever before, so that you can enjoy more of the moments you love. That's what it means to live meaningfully, to live joyfully, to live fully with Atrium Health.
In his first year with the Panthers, free agent guard Austin Corbett started all 17 games for Carolina and helped to solidify what became one of the strongest units on the team. Unfortunately, in the regular season finale against the Saints, he tore an ACL and headed into surgery early this past offseason. While he's not physically ready to go yet at training camp, he feels good on the comeback trail.
Most of the pain's gone. You get some mornings where you wake up from like just a heavier load day the day before, or it'll come back, but you move around a little bit and it's fine. So where I'm at kind of currently is just feeling that strength and that stability in cuts. But the strength-wise, like overall, it's my best my body has felt 4 or 5 years.
Corbett started 40 of 41 games for the Rams prior to arriving in Carolina. He says the rehab is going well, but does not have an exact timetable yet for his return.
Nothing specific yet. It's obviously not going to be ready week 1. And then from there, it's just going to be as we're adding more every single day, just seeing how the knee reacts and get back with the doctors, kind of reevaluate and really see from there kind of where we're at. But it's never going to be a true, not yet at least, still too a little far out to give a true exact date.
In his absence, second-year player Cade Mays has been filling in primarily at that guard position and doing well. I'm Jim Zoki on the Carolina Panthers Radio Network, presented by Morris Jenkins.
Where the heart of Lake Norman lives. WSIC. News, talk, now. Have your say.
Trusting the government to fix anything is a joke.
Be a part of the conversation.
We can't even trust the banks with our money.
This is WSIC. News, talk, now.
All right. Welcome back to the Scoreboard here on WSIC 105.9, 100.7 FM, and streaming video everywhere to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. We're at a YouTube jail now, so we are back on YouTube. So if that's where you normally watch instead of listen, you can find us there again because we're back. So we head to Indianapolis Road Course this weekend. Yes, the road course, I know, don't get mad at me. I'm just the messenger. I would rather not see back-to-back road course races, just like I'm sure that you wouldn't like to. But this is where we find ourselves, in a new NASCAR with 7 road courses and 2 of them back-to-back right before the playoffs start. I don't know who decided that would be a good idea for the schedule, but like I said, here we are. And it's not the worst thing in the world. We do get to see some new drivers, as always. Just looking through the entry list, I noticed a one Shane Van Gisbergen entry into this race. So he will be racing. Also, Brody Kostecki will be joining RCR to drive in this one. He's also an Australian supercar driver. So just like SVG, I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be kind of funny to see. We also got, Andy Lally is in here. We got, I can't pronounce the name. I'm going to try. Kamui Kobayashi will be driving the 67, so another road course driver. And Jensen Button back in the field. So we have the road course ringers back, but if we move over here to the odds, well, Shane Van Gisbergen, he is opened up at 10-1 odds. That's pretty good. He's got better odds than Kyle Busch, than Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, even AJ Allmendinger, who is known as the NASCAR road course ringer right now. Here's Kyle Busch and what he has to say about SVG's chances this weekend at Indy.
I would say he's the favorite going in, for sure. I would say that the gap will be closer from Chicago to the rest of the field that he had. He had us all beat by probably 6 to 8 tenths of a second a lap. I would say going into Indy, we should all be within 2 or 3 tenths, but he'll still be the best guy.
And I don't know if it's going to be because they've already been to the Indy road course quite a few times that the gap should be closer, according to Kyle. But he seems to think that Shane Van Gisbergen is going to be the guy to beat again. And I think it would be quite comical, honestly, if he comes in and goes 2 for 2. At that point, just leave supercars and go race NASCAR. You're obviously going to win the road courses, or at least you're going to have a chance at the road courses. Who knows? What if Brody Kostecki gets the win or has a solid finish? What if it's the 2 of them going for it at the end of the race? Late race restart, Van Gisbergen on one side, Kostecki on the other, and they go side by side into one, run away with it, and finish 1-2. Are the supercars that similar to NASCARs? Is that what it is? Is that why they're translating well? But Indy Road Course is a weird track. And AJ Allmendinger notes this. Here's what he has to say about what makes the Indy Road Course more unique than other road courses.
It's just really flat. The only real banking you have is kind of in between 1 and 2 when you go up there on the oval, and you're not up there for that long. So just the racetrack being so flat, trying to get that mechanical grip in the race car but still have a good platform in it is a difficult challenge. Last year with this car, I just remember it being real sensitive to trying to get lateral grip in the car, but not having it completely fall over. I mean, there's one time I got loose and got off on, I think it was turn 4, got in the gravel. I thought I had a flat tire, and I got back on the racetrack. They said, no, car's fine. So just trying to get that right balance of just platform of the race car, but trying to get mechanical grip in it, because there is no banking or anything in any of these corners to help with that.
And that's something that I was thinking about going into this weekend, is because it's such a flat road course. I mean, even the oval, I would consider it to be flat. It's got like 11 degrees of banking, barely anything. It's very similar to Chicago, to the street course. Now, I know the layout's different. The corners are different. They're not like 90-degree corners the way it is on a street course. But it's flat, completely flat. The infield at Indy is flat. There's, like AJ was saying, there's a small amount of elevation change and banking change, but it's not a lot to where you can really send it into a corner or you have a little bit of momentum going downhill or something like that. There's none of that. It's a flat racetrack. So I think, me personally, I think Van Gisbergen and Kostecki are going to have a real good chance this weekend. And let's hear from Kyle one more time about what it's going to be like to have Brody Kostecki as a teammate this week.
We tested together, actually, our V8 supercar that we have at RCR at VIR earlier this year. So when we first went out, I think he had me covered by about 2 seconds. And then as the day kind of progressed, and by the end of the day, I actually ran times that were real comparable and right on top of his. So, I think that those guys are all very good at what they do and really understand the heavy stock car feel and basis for these road courses. And so I would assume that he'll be strong as well, and hopefully I can lean on him and learn a lot from him and have some time in the sim and stuff like that with him that will allow us to be better off when we get there as well, better prepared.
The more like that I hear from drivers and more I hear about the difference between a cup car and an Australian supercar, the more I just feel like these two guys are going to dominate the field. I mean, you heard it there. He was about 2 seconds faster when they first started. Comparable times is not the same as matching lap times or beating him in lap times. So obviously Kyle's going to be slower. He's a very good road course racer. We've seen him through the years have great success on road courses. I think the real thing that I want to see is, how does AJ Allmendinger slide into this? Where is he going to fit? Because he is the Cup regular who is supposed to be the guy to beat during the road courses. And I know there's other drivers too, like Chase Elliott's usually a really good road course racer. Brad Keselowski has had a lot of success there. But remember when it used to be, Boris said, we're getting back into that. Because Boris said used to be, he's a road course ringer. He's just going to race the road course. Well, guess what? That's kind of what SVG is right now. It's kind of what Brody Kostecki is right now. I think they're going to have a good chance. And I think they're going to be fast. Final segment coming up here in a few minutes. Got a little bit more to talk about when it comes to NASCAR. And then we'll start giving some love and sending some flowers over to Charlotte FC, because they're having an amazing run right now in the Leagues Cup. So we'll talk about that when we get back. Make sure you stay tuned here on WSIC 105.9, 100.7 FM, 704-873-1400 if you'd like to call in and be a part of the show. We'll be right back after this.
Whatever the story,
We have to end our dependence on China.
have your say.
This debt crisis is going to set our economy back big time.
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Just a few more weeks until Kane Center for the Arts' first performance of the 2024 fall season lineup. Asheville native Kanan Cox will be performing Friday, August 25th. The show starts at 8 p.m. Kane Center for the Arts 2024 fall season. Buy your season tickets now at kanearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. Looking for something fun to do with your kids this summer? Birkdale Buds is hosting their weekly Playtime in the Plaza. Bring your preschool-aged bud for playtime between 10:30 and 12 noon every Wednesday through October. The activities include games, face painting, storytellers, magicians, arts and crafts, plus more. There's no cost and no registration required. Bring a blanket and come join the fun. For more details, visit birkdalevillage.com. Ever wonder what Mooresville was like in 1873? The historic Downtown Walking Tour is a self-guided tour that will take you on a stroll through Mooresville's past to learn about the history of the town. Featuring 18 stops, the tour begins and ends at the corner of Main Street and Center Avenue. It should take 1 hour to complete. For more details, visit downtownmooresville.com. Looking for a night out on the town? Cornelius' second Friday Street Festival series continues, starting at Oak Street Mill at 6 p.m. The second Friday Street Festival series is ongoing through October. Got an upcoming event you'd like everyone to know about? Yard and estate sales, nonprofit fundraisers, and everything in between? Go to WSICnews.com and click on Events to submit your event today.
I'm Dan Sutton with your WSIC forecast. For tonight, we'll have a low around 70 and light south wind. Thursday, we'll have a 60% chance of showers and thunderstorms with patchy fog before 10 a.m. on a high near 87 with southwest winds 9 to 15 miles per hour and gusts as high as 24 miles per hour. Few rainfall amounts between a tenth and quarter of an inch, except higher amounts possible in thunderstorms. From WSIC's Weather Center, I'm Dan Sutton.
Folks, you know Randy Marion sells vehicles the King of Price way, but did you know our service department? We service vehicles the King of Price way. We sell tires, we sell brakes, we sell batteries, we sell the maintenance. We help you keep your vehicle on the road safe, ready to drive. Whatever the season is, Randy Marion service departments have you covered. Come see us today because, folks, again, you know we sell the King of Price way and we do service the King of Price way.
King of Price, RandyMarionStatesville.com.
Breaking news, expert analysis, and the stories that matter most, all in one place.
I totally acknowledge seeing flames is a scary situation.
WSIC News Talk Now.
All right, everyone. We are back here for the final segment today on the Scoreboard with me, your host, yours truly, Joe Berg. 704-873-1400 if you have something profound you'd like to talk about. Make sure you give me a call. I'm here to answer it and talk about whatever you feel like, so we'll get to that if anybody feels like calling in. Again, 704-873-1400. Well, the NASCAR updates are coming in now as we have a few more, housekeeping things to take care of here. Front Row Motorsports has exercised their options on McDowell and Gilliland. Todd Gilliland was sharing the second car with Zane Smith. Zane Smith is now out. Gilliland is in. He will be expected to be the full-time driver. And I was a little bit curious about what would happen with McDowell. Obviously, now he can't really do anything because he's locked into that contract for one more year. But after next year, let's say McDowell has another good year. fighting for wins every so often, fighting to be the last car in on points, the way he is right now, sitting only 3 points out of the playoffs. Could we see McDowell go to, I don't know, somewhere who needs a stopgap driver? Like, I don't know, in 2 years if Denny Hamlin decides to retire. Does he go to the 11 car for a year or two until Gibbs finds their next young gun that they want to put in that car? Maybe. Does he stay with front row for the rest of his career? Likely, I would say. But that program has improved drastically this year, and pretty much all thanks to McDowell. He's been having great finishes week after week, running in the top 10 almost every week now. It's really nice to see that a small team like that can be competitive in today's NASCAR, which is what NASCAR wanted to do with these new cars anyway, is make it so that these teams who don't have the finances that Hendrick and Gibbs and SHR have, to give them a fighting chance. Obligatory update on Chase Elliott. He's 55 points out of the playoffs going into the road course at Indy. Pretty much needing a win. With 3 races left, I don't think there's any way he can pick up 20 points a race and point in. It's going to be near impossible. So that's where he is. And then we got the other Hendrick car, Alex Bowman, sitting 44 points out. He was running well for a while at Michigan. It was looking like, hey, Alex Bowman could really cut into this championship gap here for the cutoff spot. Well, he ends up wrecking on the backstretch and losing all those points. Chase Elliott had the tire issue. That was noted, and he didn't have a good finish. So both of those drivers in a win-now situation where if they don't win one of the road courses or at Daytona, I can't see them accumulating enough points to make it into the playoffs. We have some Charlotte FC coming up this weekend, and I wanted to get ahead of this because it's the Leagues Cup right now where they take, Canadian teams, U.S. teams, Mexican teams, and throw them all into a tournament. I think there were 37 teams to start out with. Now we're down to the quarterfinals, the final 8 teams left. Charlotte FC is one of those teams. And it's funny to me how this has shaken down because Charlotte FC is going to be playing Miami. Miami, obviously, it's been noted that they now have Lionel Messi. Messi has been having an absolute tear in the MLS, scoring a goal a game. I think he's still over a goal a game average right now. But Charlotte FC was 12th in the MLS standings coming into this tournament. Inter Miami, 15th in the East. Both of these in the East. Charlotte, 6 wins, 9 losses, 8 draws. Miami, 5 wins, 14 losses, and 3 draws. I want to know who had the betting slip that said these two teams are going to meet each other in the quarterfinals, because that is highly unlikely. You have 2 of the teams in the MLS. I'm not going to call them 2 of the worst teams in MLS right now, because I really think Charlotte FC has a better team than what they've been playing recently. And they're showing that right now in the Leagues Cup. Granted, they are showing how much better they are than what their record indicates. But for Inter Miami, you can really just chalk this one up to the Messi effect. There's still a long way to go in the season here. I wonder if Miami is going to be able to make a run at the wild card in the MLS. New format this year in the MLS playoffs. There's 2 wild card teams. 1 through 7 is in. 8 and 9 are the wild cards in each conference. Yada, yada. We'll talk about that more when we get towards the playoffs. But Miami is 12 points out of that 9 spot right now, and Charlotte is 4 points out. If they can carry this momentum into the resumption of the MLS season, who's to say that they can't back their way into a playoff spot and be in the MLS playoffs? And just a little bit of a note here, Charlotte FC's game on August 20th versus Inter Miami has been rescheduled, because one of them is going to be playing on the later in the Leagues Cup, And I think it's kind of cool that you move that game considering they're already going to play each other. So what, 2 weeks later, they're going to play each other again? I think that was a pretty good move, but, you know, I'm sure it was like had to be done kind of situation where, yeah, it would be nice for them to continue the season right then and there and just get it going, but one of them's going to still be in the Leagues Cup. I would absolutely love to see one of these two teams win. Because they're underdogs, both of them. They're not that great. Everybody else that's left in this tournament has pretty good records. Been playing good soccer. Charlotte FC's been playing good soccer. They got lucky versus Cruz Azul in the penalties. They got lucky versus Houston on an own goal. But here they are. They made it. And the key to the game, let me know if this surprises you. The key to the game is going to be to stop Messi. Yes, I know. So profound, right? Such a really well thought out game plan where we're just going to don't let Messi beat you. Now that's easier said than done. But if you're Charlotte FC, that's going to be the plan. All right, we're getting down to the end of the show here today. And I wanted to make this announcement. I'm going to start talking about this a little bit more in the coming shows, but we're getting close to high school sports resuming. And I know this is a big community out here with a lot of schools that have college or high school football. Baseball will be later, tennis, soccer, all that fun stuff. I want to make a segment once or twice a week where we can have callers call in and shout out any local high school athlete they would want, whether they had a really good game, whether it's their birthday or something. I want to start putting a little bit of a focus on these high school athletes, and we're going to try to get some coaches and players in for interviews and whatnot as the season and as high school progresses. But next week, games start. Next Friday, high school football is starting. So I just want to make sure that I say this before I keep forgetting about it because there's so much going on. Today was kind of a slower news day in sports. Thursday and then Friday is the news dump day. So Friday is always a wash. But I wanted to just make sure that I put it out there, that I want the community to start calling in and saying, hey, little Timmy had a 5-touchdown game yesterday. Fun stuff like that. And then we'll shout him out. We're going to be covering high school sports too, so it's not going to be the only coverage we get on high school. We're going to be talking about it, usually a segment or here or there, but I just want to make sure that we're keeping the community involved, getting a little bit of a spotlight on some of these local players, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, I don't care what it is. Swimming, if somebody broke a record in swimming or wrestling, it doesn't matter. I want the community to be involved, to be able to call in and shine a light on some of the great athletes that we have in the area, because there's a lot of good athletes in this area. We've seen plenty of professionals come out of the Lake Norman, Statesville, Charlotte area. So we'll continue to harp on that as we get closer to the start of real football and basketball and whatnot. But as always, thank you for tuning in today. This has been the Scoreboard with me, your host, this guy right here, the one and only Joe Berg. And I'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, still talking about sports. We're not going to change anything. Make sure you tune back in early tomorrow morning for Justin Kazepis. Good morning, LKN. He always has a good show and always tries to get me in some kind of trouble whenever he has me on. Good laughs and good fun. So make sure you tune in tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Until then, I'll see you guys tomorrow.